Welcome back to Bread and Captivity News, an unfiltered look at the world from a Canadian perspective. So, Mark Carney has replaced Justin Trudeau and is now the Prime Minister designate of Canada. What that means is he's not elected Prime Minister by running yet, but he has been elected by the party. Now, I've seen a lot of right-wingers kind of losing their minds on Twitter about, oh, the Prime Minister of Canada is not.
First of all, are Americans anybody to be commenting on anybody's electoral system?
Yeah, you know what? Democracy in both of our countries is a total frigging myth. Okay, check out our earlier video for how most Canadian votes just get thrown in the garbage. And if you don't know about the American system, Hillary Clinton had 6 million more votes than Donald Trump, and he still beat her. So neither of our systems are perfect.
Math.
But this is how it works in Canada. We vote for a party. The Liberal Party is currently in charge with a minority government, and they elect a leader among them. And among them, they had elected Justin Trudeau, who's now stepped down because the party is tanking under his leadership. And Mark Carney is the overwhelming favorite to now lead the party. He is Justin Trudeau's former finance minister. He is from the Northwest Territories.
Damn.
Damn. He doesn't have a seat, though. He doesn't have a parliamentary seat because he hasn't run yet. And since he was a finance minister, he wasn't really technically an MP, a member of parliament. So he will have to call an election.
I have to say I knew very, very little of this man before this happened. I had to go and look up who the hell he even was and what he stood for.
It's an interesting choice, Mark Carney. I don't know if this is part of the liberal strategy to kind of get somebody that nobody knows anything about so that he can be scandal-free because of all of the scandals that have been plaguing Justin Trudeau towards the end of this. But it's also a little bit scary that we don't know very much about him. He's going to have to run against Conservative party leader Pierre Poilievre. And when Justin Trudeau was running, there was a huge gap. The Conservatives looked like they had a slam dunk, just a layup to win the election. And now with Mark Carney in the race, the polls are looking different. The Liberals are only leading Pierre Poilievre by 1 point, but they are now leading him.
That's so terrifying, though, because he's basically just another version of Trump.
Pierre Poilievre is now trying to walk back all of his associations with Trump, and we're going to cover that in another video that we're going to have posted very soon. But I think it's hilarious because he actually has an entire strategy that the National Post is going over with, like how he's going to change his verbiage and all that stuff. But let's focus on this guy for now. It's actually amazing timing for them to do this switch because everybody hates Trump right now, and America by association. I don't care what Justin Trudeau says. Canadians are upset with Americans because you voted this guy in twice. We're not really happy with America on this side.
He's lying, okay? He doesn't speak for all of us.
So the fact that the people who are closer, who have had a more publicly close relationship with Donald Trump, are now really feeling the backlash of that in society and online. It's an excellent time for the Liberal Party to make this switch because we really don't want a conservative government in Canada, much less a conservative majority, which is what it was going to look like.
No, absolutely not. And we covered this briefly in the Doug Ford election win as well, that if that were the case, we are literally just heading towards turning into another America, and we cannot allow that in Canada.
We cannot allow that. And you know what? I don't mind that the people who are associated with him and with Elon Musk are actually feeling the backlash because
absolutely,
as a politician, you really ought to have known better. Right? This is not his first term. Elon Musk has been off the rails for months and months and months and months. Okay? He has been out here buying the American election just in front of people. He's on stage with chainsaws and stuff like that. And why didn't a man like Pierre Poilievre really know better than to distance himself from these men sooner?
Especially if you're running for a federal election. You think that your entire populace does not know what's going on south of the border?
Much sooner. So he's actually what people think of when they imagine what's called Maple MAGA, which is a Canadian MAGA movement.
Who did that to us? No.
It's humiliating, but it had to do with a lot of the trucker stuff, and there was a lot of controversy there. I don't want to get into that right now, but needless to say, it was heavily influenced by the States. Needless to say that they were supporting it in the South, and Canadians were really not a fan of what was happening over here. And Also, Elon Musk has been nonstop tweeting about how great Pierre Poilievre is and has been throwing his support behind him. And now that we're seeing him completely dismantle the American government, it is not a great endorsement. It is not a great endorsement. It's like getting P. Diddy to say, you're such a great guy right before all the evidence comes out, right before all the baby oil. And you know what I mean? But that doesn't matter to a certain group on the right. And that's scary. And I think that we really need to examine how they're capturing this, like such a large group of the population, both sides, with this kind of rhetoric. And I think this is what's going to be potentially the most dangerous thing for Mark Carney to navigate. Because I saw his speech. He said a lot of great things, sure, but honestly, it was not very inspiring. And as we discussed in a previous video, Canadians do not really show up to vote. Some of us do. Yeah. And the ones that do have created the conservative majority and minority governments that we've been enjoying for a long time in this country, and that needs to change. And the face of change, is it going to be Mark Carney? I don't know. He was
No, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but no. Because they did not even platform enough and think forward enough in time to be like, let's at least digitally get him out there.
Hold up. Hold that thought real quick, because my next point was going to be he was on Jon Stewart.
And I don't even know this. When was he on Jon Stewart?
Well, I like to watch Jon Stewart's show, but he was on Jon Stewart's show. I think he actually had a decent viewing from there, and he was so much better on that show.
But that's a quite recent development, right?
Yeah. But his speech was after the Jon Stewart show. The Jon Stewart show was like a while ago when he was still running to become the party leader. And in that interview, he was personable. He was likable. He's like, even though he wasn't really saying the substantive things that you would want to hear from somebody running in his position, things that you would hear from, say, the Green Party, Elizabeth May, or from Jagmeet Singh, who don't just give lip service. They often provide concrete ideas for what they want to do, grassroots organizations that they want to fund. I get nervous when I hear somebody like Mark Carney just talking about, the markets, and I know he comes from a financial background. And I hope that is going to be beneficial for us. But I think that we should all learn from America that a businessman does not make a prime minister. And
definitely not.
Oh my gosh. And you know what? That brings me to another point. Doug Ford, in his response to Trump, right now it's 4:30. I don't know if there are tariffs. Okay. Back and forth. I checked the news today. Trump was in front of a chopper, and he was like, oh, Doug Ford is like some great guy, and he's really strong, and I'm going to walk back the tariffs. And then I saw Trump's newly released from prison. Right. I forget what member of cabinet he is, going on TV and like basically begging Canadians to tame down the rhetoric over there and stop saying elbows up and stuff. It's kind of mean. And I was just like,
it's kind of mean. You have screwed over your entire economy. Everybody is on the verge of near homelessness or starvation. You're threatening to take
our entire country from us. You're threatening our entire sovereignty, and you have but that's kind of the
American way of life.
American, honestly, even Zionist way now, isn't it? Right? They just punch you in the face and then cry that you're the victim and like, look what you made me do. But so at this moment right now, I don't know what the terror situation is, but I think Doug Ford is like digging in his heels. And he is, okay, for me, he is such an unlikable guy. But he is out there, and he is, honestly, I'm sure his polling is going through the roof, because he's putting his foot down. He's being stern. He has like a personality that he's leaning into right now. Mark Carney, though, just seems like diet Justin Trudeau so far. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you look at some politicians, you look at the movements that are happening in the States, because they're going to be mirroring a lot of what's happening over here, right? You have the Republican Party in the States just basically acting out the emperor's not wearing clothes kind of thing. Like, it's just so bizarre. But then you have the Democratic side in the United States, which is equally disappointing. And I think Canadians really should not just be placing their anger at Trump. They should be placing it at the entire governing body of the states right now, because if you don't know, it's all Republican held. They have a Republican president, they have a Republican Senate, they have a Republican Congress. So these people who have the ability to literally just shut down everything Elon Musk is doing, because Congress in America, they have a saying, Congress controls the purse. Okay, and that means that they control the budget. They control everything that Elon Musk is doing over there should actually be going in front of Congress for them to approve, but it's not. Right? They're allowing this to happen because the only thing I can think of is they're getting a cut, right? They know what's coming. They've cozied up to all of the billionaires, all of the social media oligarchs, all of these just detestable people. And now they're pretending that they're powerless, that their hands are tied when their country's being turned upside down and ours by extension. So I don't think that our anger should just be placed on them. I think it needs to be placed on the entire governing body. And we need to really look at the similarities between the conservatives here and the Republicans/Democrats over there, because honestly, both of those parties are crap. And then you look at a man like Bernie Sanders, who is a Democrat in name, but honestly is a real progressive. And the numbers this man is pulling for rallies he is doing right now, even though Trump just got elected, is astounding. He is pulling in crowds by the thousands. They are turning people away at the door by the thousands. And where is that energy here? Where is that energy here? Do you know why they're showing up for Bernie Sanders? Because he's saying shit that makes you want to show up. He's talking to working class people about their life, about affordability, about how we're getting robbed, about how we need to tax people who have been robbing us blind. And if you don't think that cuts both ways of the border, you are not paying attention. We have a very similar situation here. It is ironic when Doug Ford puts on a hat saying, Canada's not for sale, because Doug is trying to sell the green belt as we speak. So, maybe just recaption that to Canada's not for sale at this price to this buyer. Not as catchy, probably wouldn't fit on a baseball cap, but we cannot become Americans here. We cannot fall for slogans. Make America great again. Canada's not for sale. We will never bow to Trump, or whatever Mark Carney was saying. We have to start paying attention to policies. We might never have this kind of momentum and appetite for change in Canada for a long time to come. And to see Elizabeth May and Jagmeet Singh not really actively on the offensive, not really just because we want the Liberal Party to win doesn't mean that we should not be pushing them to win on popular policies. And are we going to see that this side of the border? I'm not sure. And is this excitement going to be able to carry Carney through a snap election? I'm not sure that this excitement is going to carry him through this snap election. If you want to excite somebody and you want to take advantage of the moment that is possibly presenting itself right now, take an example from Bernie Sanders, please. People want to hear this stuff. When Mark Carney is talking about cutting taxes, sure, that sounds good. Who doesn't want lower taxes? We have a high tax rate in this country. We enjoy a lot of things for it, but sure, we do have a high tax rate in this country. But I'm not hearing any exclusions for the ultra wealthy. In fact, I'm hearing him talking about rolling back taxes for capital gains. How many of us have capital gains? This is not a message that's going to reach the kind of voter base that's going to come out. You need to talk about the things that not only America is doing, but what Canadian politicians like Pierre Poilievre, Canadian politicians like Doug Ford are doing that are emulating America, okay? Just because this guy is not Trump's best friend, I'm talking about Mark Carney, just because he's not a Pierre Poilievre Trump suck-up does not mean automatically that he is a man for the people, right? That is why you're not seeing, in my opinion, a forceful opposition to Trump in America either. Right? I'm not seeing like a strong Democratic leader other than Bernie Sanders. And that man is pushing like 100 almost, okay?
And he's been doing this since he was
a consistent
young
message,
man.
right? He wants them to have health care. He wants them to expand health care, Medicare for all.
Socialism is bad. Socialism is gonna kill us.
You know what I mean? Like they are voting in their own worst interest, saying bullshit like socialism is bad, not understanding that they have socialist programs like the police, like schools, like what, and anything that we all pay into, and then all gets. So, listen, if we're not clearer on messaging, if we're not talking about things that'll impact you, if we're not talking about the fact that these guys want to sell off more land to foreign investors, if we're not talking about the fact that these guys are not interested in looking at raising wages at the same rate of inflation, if they're not talking about building affordable housing for Canadians who live here, who grew up here, who are born here, who immigrated here and been living here for 10, 20, 50, if we can't buy homes in this country, but people who have never stepped foot in this country can just go online and just like purchase every available plot of land here with a click of a button, because those are the kind of markets, you know, that people like Ford and Polyev are opening us up to. And I'm not hearing a strong pushback. And when, if not now, when? That becomes the question, right? This guy, he's not Trump's best friend, but is he our best friend? I don't know. So we're going to keep you guys up to date on this. We're going to do some more reporting on Mark Carney, on Pierre Poilievre, on where the polling is at and what his policies are. And hopefully we're going to be reporting that Elizabeth May is out in these streets talking a good talk, not just against America, but against policies that we don't like in the Liberal Party. This might be our chance to break out of the red and blue cycle. Mm-hmm. This might be our chance to break out of the conservative liberal cycle, and that would be something, wouldn't it? Anyhow, we're going to end it here. Bread in Captivity. Like it if you liked it. Please subscribe and stay tuned. Peace.